All right, good morning, students. Today we are going to be doing completing the square. Completing the square. So if you'll join me, we are on page 127. So we're going to take notes on page 127. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 steps. So first, we're just going to go through, I'm going to tell you what the steps are, and then I'm going to show you them. So if you recall, standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. So we have the a, the b, and the c. So step 1 is to move c to the other side. So we would move c over to the other side of the equation, but I'll show you. Number 2 is common factor out a. So we would factor out a. If there was a, if a was anything other than 1, we'd common factor it out, which I will explain that in a minute. And then we're going to complete the square, which is taking 1/2 of the b value and then squaring it. That's kind of our key step right here, is to take 1/2 of that b value and then square it. So let's say the b value is 8. Half of b is 4. 4 squared is 16. So our third step would be 16. Let's say our b value was 10. Half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So, and we'll do some examples of that. Also, we're going to add that value to both sides. And then 5, we're going to factor. And then 6, we're going to solve. So there's all your steps. I said 5 because that's all you have to do to complete the square, but we're going to, for most of these, we're going to solve the problem. So let's do example of completing the square. So if we just have something like this, x squared minus 14x, if we need to complete the square, we don't have step 1 because there is no c. We don't have step 2 because that's just a 1. So we're going to have to go to here, 1/2 of b squared. So here's b right here is 14. So we have to do 1/2 of 14 squared. Here's that equation 2. b cut in half squared. So 1/2 of 14, that's 7. 7 squared is 14. So if we were to complete the square, it'd look like this. X squared minus 14 plus 49. I just completed the square. So half of this is 7. 7 squared is 49. That's completing the square. So now let's look at how it looks when we actually do it. So that's example 1. Let's check out example 2. Mr. Blue, put the book up higher. Put the book up. Oh, okay, there we go. So example 2, I have x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 0. So we are going to check these out. All right, step number 1, move c to the other side. All right, I can do that. X squared plus 4x equals 7. And I intentionally left a space here, and you'll see why. Step 3, 1/2 of b squared. So here's b. I could write them down if I wanted to. A is 1, b is 4, and c is negative 7. So 1/2 of 4 squared. So 1/2 of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Add that value to both sides. So I added 4 to this side, added 4 to this side. Now, the reason I completed the square is that now this right here is factored as x plus 2 times x plus 2. Wait a second, what do you mean? Well, remember if we got the factors of 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and see which one of those factors added up to 4, it'd be 2 and 2. And this is the whole reason we're doing this right here. This is the whole reason, is because I have a perfect square. So I have x plus 2 squared, right? X plus 2 times x plus 2 squared equals 11. Now, I would have a terribly difficult time trying to factor this. I wouldn't be able to factor this. I can't. I don't know how to factor this. But with these tools, I figured it out. Because once I'm here, it's just like last night's homework. Remember last night's homework? You took the square root of both sides, right? Square root of this side, square root of this side. You're left with x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 11. Oh, cool. Well, the square root of 11. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm not doing that. I'm going to leave it here, right? That's why I couldn't find the factors of this. Let's finish it off. We have x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 11. So I still have two answers, right? I have negative 2 plus the square root of 11, and I have negative 2 minus the square root of 11. So I added these a few steps, but I still came to my answer. I found my x-intercepts. So that's completing the square. Let's check out one more, and then we'll do some of the homework. So this one's going to include all of the steps. 2x squared plus 16x minus 12 equals 0. All right. Step 1. Move c to the other side. All right, I move c to the other side. Step 2, common factor out a. Now, if I divide both sides by the exact same thing, I'm not changing the value of anything. So that's pretty cool because they're all divisible by 2. So if I divide this side by 2 and I divide this side by 2, I have not changed the value of my equation. So I now get x squared plus 8x equals 6. Now I do 1/2 b squared. So my b value is 8, so half of 8 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So I have to add 16 to both sides. So plus 16 plus 16. Now, what's the reason I have this and squared it? Well, I did that so that I could get a perfect square. So I have x plus 4 times x plus. I have this so I can get a perfect square. X plus 4 times x plus 4. So that's the factors of this. Equals 22. So what's the whole reason for doing this? It's to get a perfect square. Right? Here's a perfect square. X plus 4 squared equals 22. Now I could square root both sides, and I get x plus 4 equals plus or minus square root of 22. Subtract 4 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 22. Square root of 22, is that easy? Oh no. Yuck. Irrational. Sorry, don't deal with the irrational. There you go. I just solved it. Let's look at a couple of our problems, and then you can have at it. So x squared plus 12x. So what we're going to do is they want us to complete the square, and completing the square is 1/2 b squared. Or the way they put it is b over 2 squared, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So here's our b value. It's 12. So 12 divided by 2 squared, so that'd be 6 squared, so that's 36. So if I complete this square, it'd be x squared plus 12x plus 36. There it is. And then this is x plus 6 times x plus 6. Actually, let's go ahead and finish it all the way off. X plus 6 squared. Let's finish it all the way off. I'll show you one more. Ooh, look at this one. Let's go with an odd number. Okay. X minus 7x. Okay, give me 1 second just to double check, make sure I'm giving you the right information. Okay, good thing I checked. So here we go. Complete the square. I have -7, half of -7 squared. So -7 over 2 squared. Well, -7 times -7 is 49. 2 times 2 is 4. So there's half of b squared. So completing my square, I have x squared minus 7x plus 49 fourths. And if I want to do this, I can go x plus 7 halves times x plus 7 halves, which is x plus 7 halves squared. X plus 7 halves squared. So that's what I want you to find right there. And that's what it is when we complete the square. Oops, I'm sorry. This is subtract. X minus, because that's a minus right there. X minus 7 half squares. This is going to be plus, minus, plus, plus, minus, plus. Okay, let's do this. Let's complete the square. Solve the equation by completing the square. All right, they did first step for us. They took the 15 over. So now we're going to go x squared minus 8x was -15. Half of 8 squared. So half of 8 is 4, squared is 16. So 4 squared is 16. So I add 16 to both sides. This becomes x minus 4 times x minus 4. And this becomes 1. So we have x minus 4 squared equals 1. Solve it. So we get to finish it off. We get a square root both sides. So we have x minus 4 equals plus or minus 1, because 1 times 1 equals the square root of 1. So we add 4, add 4. We now have x equals 4 plus 1, and x equals 4 minus 1. So x equals 5, x equals 3. Please do not stop here and go plus or minus. It's not. It's 5 and 3. That's your answer. All right, let's check this one out. So x squared, so we can minus 26x equals -9. I'm going to grab a calculator for this one. So we have x squared minus 26x equals -9. I'm going to do half of 26. So 26, half of 26 is 13. 13 times 13, so 13 squared is 169. So x squared minus 26x plus 169 equals -9 plus 169. So there's my completing the square. Half of 26 is 13. Squared is 169. 13 squared is 169. So this is x minus 13 times x minus 13 equals 160. X minus 13 squared equals 160. 160 is not okay. So square root both sides. So I have x minus 13 equals plus or minus the square root of 160. And then I do x, add 13 to both sides. So I have x equals 13 plus or minus the square root of 160. So round your answers to nearest hundredth. So I'm going to go 160. So the square root of 160 is plus 13. Now hundredth is right here. Oh geez, you can't even see it. Hundredth is right here. So 9 rounds this up. So I have 25.65. So x equals 25.65. Now I have to do a negative square root of 160. I get that. I'm going to turn it negative. So negative plus 13. So I get 0.35. 0 doesn't do anything to that. So I'm left with rounded off. It's 0.35. X equals 0.35. There it is. There is your homework. A couple of your problems done. Enjoy, and please ask me if you have any questions.